Welcome to Too Fond of Books. My name is Janelle, and this is another March Mystery Madness video. Before we get into the video though, I need to show you the book that I found from yesterday's M&M manuscript matchup. And as soon as I knew that the prompts were a book that had an animal in it and a male detective, that I had to talk about the book that I had just spoken about in that video, and that is the Baby Ganesh Agency Investigate series by Vasim Khan. So the male detective is Inspector Chopra. It's in the city of Mumbai, and he has a baby elephant, Ganesha, who is really important in the plot. We see him a lot, and he always plays an important role in the story. And so yeah, how could I not talk about this series for those prompts? Okay, so stay tuned to the end of the video when we will play another round of our M&M manuscript matchup game. Beware the Ides of March. It is March 15th, and March 15th is the Ides of March. And so the question that I was thinking about for the Ides of March was Shakespeare the mystery writer of his day? Beware the Ides of March is a phrase from Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar, and it has become very famous. People who may not know very much about the Ides of March know that that phrase, beware the Ides of March, means beware of something bad that's about to happen, basically. So that just got me thinking about Shakespeare, and it led me to wonder, was Shakespeare the mystery writer of his day? So first I looked a little bit into the Ides of March. March 15th is the 74th day in the Roman calendar, and it is marked by several religious observances and was notable for the Romans as a deadline for settling debts. But it became famous in 44 BC with the assassination of Julius Caesar. All of that is historically accurate. The phrase, beware the Ides of March, is, like I said, from Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar. So I thought, I'm pretty familiar with Shakespeare's plays, but there are a lot of them that I have not read yet. So I thought this could actually take me a lot of time and research to figure out if Shakespeare was the mystery writer of his day. And then I found this article, ranking Shakespeare's plays as crime fiction, from the crimereads.com. And I thought, there it is. So I'm going to link to that article in the description box below so that you can read the full article yourself, because it is fascinating. Crime Reads is a great website for articles about all things crime books. Yeah, it's a really good site. So this article is from March 15th, 2018. I love that they also posted it on the Ides of March. And it was written by Dwyer Murphy, with the tagline, domestic suspense, hard-boiled spy thrillers. The Bard did it all. Here's a quote from the article. Just about every one of his plays, whether tragedy, comedy, or history, can be viewed as crime fiction. The article then goes on to rank Shakespeare's plays by which are best read through the lens of crime and mystery. So I'm just going to tell you what those 12 plays are, and give you a briefly tell you what they said in the article. I'm not reading out the entire article by any means, so make sure you visit it yourself if this is interesting to you. So here we go. Number 12 is King Lear, The Long Con, a story about generational conflict, vanity, and madness. But don't forget, it all starts with a swindle. One crime begets another. It may not be an archetypal crime story, but Lear has the seeds. That, and Edgar, one of the characters, lends the literature a pithy and useful line, the Prince of Darkness is a gentleman. So King Lear, if you're unfamiliar, he has 3 daughters, and at the beginning of the book, he asks them to tell them how much they love him, or to prove how much they love him, and of course they will get stuff. And 2 of his daughters are the ones who are playing the long con, and they tell him what he wants to hear. His 3rd daughter, who truly loves him, doesn't want to play, and she gets banished. And so yeah, I totally agree that that is a long con. That's awesome. Number 11 is The Tempest, which is a vengeance epic. Now, I've never actually read The Tempest, But let's see. Prospero is one of the characters, a bitter and magical. He dreams of exacting revenge on his brother Antonio and the usurper Alonso, the men who conspired to remove him from the throne of Naples. Yep, that sounds like a vengeance epic to me. Number 10, Henry IV Part 1, a coming-of-age caper. This is also a play I'm not familiar with. I don't think I've read any of Shakespeare's history plays. The adventures of young Hal and old Jack Falstaff, the body stalwarts of Eastcheap, have the air of Elmore Leonard about them. A cast of misfits, deep in their cups, bluster their way into a criminal turn only to get caught up in something larger than any of them suspected possible. Falstaff, in particular, with his grandiose manipulations, self-pity, and endless appetites, sets a model for many a larger-than-life, down-on-his-luck, two-bit criminal. Number 9, Romeo and Juliet. Gritty urban crime. Now this one I thought this was so good because everyone immediately thinks of, star-crossed lovers, tragic love story. But Verona, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. That is a great opening line. So even though it is a play about star-crossed lovers, the play is also a sociological study of Verona in a time of feuds, an indictment of a culture that lets vengeance and honor fetishizations run amok. A timeless love story, yes, but also a gritty urban crime epic, the kind that informed the likes of Mario Puzo's Godfather series. Interesting. Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's awesome. Number 8, Midsummer Night's Dream, a psychological thriller. Now, listen to what the author of this article said about this because I think that I agree with him. This is interesting. Sure, it's one of Shakespeare's best-loved plays and usually remembered as a light-hearted romp, more rom-com than noir. But let's not forget two very important things. One, a daughter is effectively sentenced to death if she doesn't comply with her father's orders to marry. And two, everyone is getting drugged and thrust into arguably non-consensual sexual situations. Talk about fairyland and magic in the moonlight all you want. This is, low-key, a very sinister tale. Interesting, right? Number 7, The Merchant of Venice. Classic noir. It's a classic setup. In desperate straits, a loan is made, the vig is running, the pressure's on, and this particular shark is not one to look kindly on his client's misfortunes, especially when that client is a highfalutin bigot. Okay, some of that is not technically a classic setup. Merchant of Venice is theoretically one of Shakespeare's comedies, but of course it walks that fine line between comedy and tragedy, especially with the trials of Shylock, one of Shakespeare's greatest and most ambivalent characters. The man demands his pound of flesh, and who's to say justice isn't on his side, nasty stereotypes aside. It's difficult to watch his fate as it plays out, but even that dark, twisted ending is in step with the legacy of crime fiction, where the noir philosophy holds that there are no wholly satisfying answers in life, just more acres in the abyss. Interesting. Number 6, Julius Caesar. Espionage thriller. Caesar, the prototypical international espionage thriller, the story of an assassination, only the plot isn't foiled by some shadowy spy chief or rock-hard operative. No, the body drops and the bloody corpse is there for all to see. Rather than focusing only on the act, the drama also unfolds over the propaganda war that follows between Brutus, Cassius, and the red-handed senators on one side and Caesar's faithful friend Mark Antony on the other. In the end, it's all about stagecraft and all the dirty, clandestine work that goes into maintaining some semblance of a democracy. I think the guy who wrote this article is brilliant. Okay, number 5, Measure for Measure, legal thriller. A classic study of malum prohibitum versus malum in se. Claudio and Juliet's unofficial marriage sets off a wave of crime followed by a good deal of soul-searching and interrogation of where human law stands next to the dictates of the Almighty. Measure for Measure is a legal thriller, the kind where moral investigation that the kind of moral investigation that would inform the work of Harper Lee, not to mention Scott Turow or many of the other fine practitioners who see beyond the simple letter of the law to address bigger questions of ethics and morality, and who also see how those codes shape the societies they govern. In Aeschylus's famous coinage, some rise by sin and some by virtue fall. Number 4, The Taming of the Shrew, Gothic Noir. Depending on the angle, this is either a delightful romp that sets the tone for many a difficult woman rom-com, or a domestic suspense thriller about a remorseless child abuser and the misogynistic tormentor he invites into his home in order to break his daughter's spirits. Catherine is a strong-willed young woman who knows her mind and refuses to settle, and for this she's subjected to a string of manipulations and humiliations, trickery, deprivation of food and drink, the list goes on. At best, she's gaslighted. More likely, we're talking assault. Yes, there's a reasonably happy ending, all the more reason to see Taming of the Shrew as a Gothic noir it really is. In the universe of the play, women, especially independent ones, are there to be conquered, and their own homes become a kind of laboratory for psychological experiments. Number 3, Othello, domestic suspense. Foreign wars set the backdrop, but Othello is a classic tale of domestic suspense, with Iago, the charismatic villain, playing the role of gaslighter to the hot-blooded outsider, the general newly returned home to his Venetian wife. The reverse psychology is laid on thick. Oh, beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on. Over the centuries, much has been made of Iago's motive. He talks of being passed over for promotion, but admits to hating the Turk for sport. Coleridge called him a motiveless malignity, which makes him a kind of presage to some of the most terrifying villains in 20th century crime fiction. Dark manifestations of primal and societal ills flashing up Cain or Wildford, or, in another more Gothic fictional line, the villains of Robert Bloch or Thomas Harris, master manipulators. Number 2, Hamlet, Private Eye. Interesting, right? Yeah, I agree, and I think that he successfully argues his case. Prince Hamlet, a fever dream of the Golden Age detective, the bridge between English country house manor mysteries and the fatalistic noir on the other side of the Atlantic. Hamlet is the haggard, haunted PI who can't let go of the past, driven to intoxication and madness by crimes he believes he's supposed to solve, in this case the murder of his father by his uncle Claudius. Prince Hamlet's elaborate ploy to unmask the deed plays out in Act 3, among the finest, most emotionally intricate set pieces in the history of crime literature, dubbed the Mousetrap, in which the regicide is acted out in front of all the relevant parties, while the prince observes for signs of guilt, but is himself whipped into a frenzy of paranoia and righteous ire. Finally, Prince Hamlet gives us the quintessential tragic ending, later to be borrowed by many a noir novel, in which just about everyone ends up dead, and hardly a mystery worth solving is resolved. Interesting, right? And number 1, Macbeth, Outlaw Noir. There is no more noir setup in the annals of Shakespeare. Although Macbeth has a theoretically historical setting, really it unfolds in the same dark pocket of the cosmos as King Lear, where morality and time have been turned upside down, and a dark shadow has been cast over the land. Macbeth, a seemingly content man overcome by ambition, bloodlust, and some very poor advice, commits an unspeakable crime. His new position gives him no satisfaction. Riches and power can't undo the memory of his sin. In the night, he hears the immortal words, "Sleep no more." Macbeth is murdering sleep. To murder sleep, very few ideas in literature can match that for chills sent down the spine. And then, of course, there's Lady Macbeth, the archetypal femme fatale, shrewd, covetous, leading her man down the primrose path. Putting on a masterclass in manipulation, she questions her husband's manliness, ambition, and sanity until finally the deed is done. Together, they're an outlaw pair, agents of chaos, barreling over the precipice of madness. So what do you think? Was Shakespeare the mystery writer of his day? I would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And now it's time for the next round of our M&M manuscript matchup game. All right, here we go. What are we going to get? We got red, which gives us location. Where in the world is our book going to be set? Orange gives us Central and South America. Ooh. Okay, so we need to find a book that is set in Central or South America. And for the purposes of this game, I'm going to include the islands off in that area too. So Haiti and even the Caribbean islands, let's count those in that area too. Orange gives us detective. And blue gives us professional. Okay, so we need to find a book with a professional detective set in Central or South America. Good luck to you. This one is a little trickier than they've been in the past, but I'm sure you can do it, and I would love to know what book you find that matches these prompts. Please put your answers in the comment section down below, and I will see you for another video soon. Bye.